Okay,
So,
ma'am.
yes. Okay. So let me introduce myself once again. I'm Jyoti Sharma and I'm doing teaching assistant for Dr. Ankur Avadia for the course Conservation Geography. And today is week 10. And the timing is from 10 to 12. So let's start with the content. Okay. So today the content that I will cover will be the resources and its conservation, and we have three topics that we will cover today. The first is land resources, the second is water resources, and third is mineral and energy resources. So let's first go to what do you mean by the resources? So Danish, can you tell me what the resources is?
Ma'am, anything which can satisfy our need and is technologically accessible, culturally acceptable, and economically feasible.
Yeah, exactly. Your definition is more expensive and elaborative than what the definition I have. So I have the definition of resource is like this: a source of supply, support, or aid that can be readily drawn upon when needed. Okay, so here we can have two different type of resources. The one is natural, and second is human resources. So and because human is making impact on the natural resources, human is the one who is leading to the changes in the natural resources. So right now we will talk only about the natural resources. Okay. So natural resources has been divided based on some criteria. Okay, so one classification is based on origin, and one classification is based on renewability, and more classification based on another particular or the specific things. Okay, so first talk about the okay, so can you differentiate, like, what's the difference between the natural resources and the human resources?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Kuldeep.
Ma'am, natural resources that we get from nature, like like land, water, fossil fuel, and forest,
Exactly. So,
soils.
yes, so you are saying that if there is a no any intervention, or if the resources are made without any intervention of the human, okay, or without the action of the human, so it is the natural resources. Okay, so uh, classification based on the origin, we can divide it into biotic and abiotic. So, Danish, what's the example of the biotic? And Kuldeep,
Ma'am,
what's the example? Yes.
biotic components are the living components in our environment, such as human beings, animals, plants.
Okay, but I'm talking about the resources, and in resources, like natural resources, and resources should be biotic in nature. So, what would be the example of it?
Ma'am, the most important biotic resource is the human. Because, ma'am, human beings themselves are essential components of resources. As they have knowledge, they can transform anything into a resource which can help themselves.
Yes, Danish, you are right that human is the one of the dominating resource, but I'm talking about the natural, not the human resource. So, example can be timber or
Ma'am, it
trees.
may be like anything like, yes, timber, like medicinal plants, like animals, birds, and fishes.
Yes, yes, exactly. And this is kind of supply that we can use when it is needed. Okay, so in the biotic, just example is like timber, or another type of like the forest we have, that is uh, resources that are originated from the living. Okay, so this is the biotic, and abiotic is like derived from the uh, non-living matter, right? So example of this is Philip.
Yeah, ma'am. Um, Ma'am, abiotic.
Yes, abiotic.
Abiotic examples are copper,
Yes,
iron ore,
yes,
and
exactly. So any type of fossil fuel will come
fossil fuel, yeah.
under this abiotic, right? Okay.
Coal, yeah.
So next classification is based on the renewability, whether we can replenish our resources or not, or replenish in such a way that it takes a very few years to replenish. And if it taking million of years, then we will say that it is non-renewable, because the pace of making it or forming it very slow. Okay, so can you give me the example of renewable, Danish?
Yes, ma'am. Solar resources, wind resources,
Yes, exactly. And the example of non-renewable?
ma'am,
ma'am,
fossil
fossil fuels.
fuels.
Yes, exactly. So I also have some definition. If we talk about the biotic resources that are coming from the living matter, as we already talked about, that it is a timber or something like that. Abiotic coming from non-living matter, renewable sources, sources that can be replenished naturally. For example, sunlight, or the example you gave, solar or wind energy. Then non-renewable resources, those resources that either form slowly or do not naturally form at all in the environment. For example, coal. Okay. Then we also have one another classification. This is based on the stage of the development, and in which we have four categories. The first is potential resources, means we have the resources, but we didn't drill it out. Okay, so because we want to use it in the future. If you know that in the Alaska or in the USA, there is a like a highest deposit of coal, and these coals are not being drilling out, because they are thinking that when there will be no coal in the country, in the remaining world, then we will use it. Okay, so and they also like getting the coal right now, whatever the pace is, so they are getting it right now in a good manner. Okay, so there is no need to drill out that kind of oil or the coal. So this is the potential resources, the resources that may be used in the future. For example, oil. Then we have the actual resources, means whatever we are getting right now. Okay, so for example, we are extracting timber from the forest, or we are extracting coal from the forest, oil from the forest. So this will be the actual resources. Then we have the reserve resources. This is only the part of actual resources that we can extract. Okay, but we are not extracting it because it is either in the low concentration, or it is not feasible for us to extract it, because we don't have that much good technology for that. For example, if we have like gold, or then if it is in a very low concentration, then it may be that our technology and our profit is not that much from that low concentration, because it may be that input money or input capital is more than the output one. Okay, so this is part of the actual resources, but because it is not profitable right now, and that's why we are not extracting it. So this is the reserve resources. And the last is stock resources. So we know that uh, there is a resource, but because of technology, we can't use it. Okay, for example, hydrogen for the nuclear fusion. So what do you mean by nuclear fusion? Danish, Kuldeep, can you tell me? Yes, Kuldeep.
Ma'am, nuclear fusion is a process, is a mechanism in which
Yes.
uh, hydrogen converts into helium because of excessive heat. It basically happen in our sun.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
the energy is converted into helium, and then there are solar flares and
Ye-
energy
Yes.
production. I mean, it is
So,
just
so
basic.
So what's the difference between nuclear fusion and nuclear fission?
Ma'am, fusion and fission.
Yes, there are two things,
Yeah,
fusion
ma'am.
and fissions. Yes.
Ma'am, fusion is like centrifugal, and fission is like centripetal. I don't know how can I how to
Okay,
describe.
this is not like that. Fusion is like if you are fusing two things. Fusing means if you are like colliding two things, or if you are like let the two things come together. So this is kind of fusion. Okay, if one hydrogen, second hydrogen fuse with each other or collide with each other, that will form, suppose, H2. Okay, so this is kind of nuclear fusion. And if we are talking about nuclear fission, fission means disintegrate or breakdown. So if we have H2, then this will convert into H plus H. Okay, so we have, and we also have the tech, we have good technology for the nuclear fission, because whatever the atomic bomb we have, the hydrogen bomb we have, these are based on the nuclear fission. Okay, and these two processes, either it is nuclear fusion or nuclear fission, both process release a enormous amount of heat. Okay, but the higher amount of heat can be released by nuclear fusion rather than nuclear fission. But we don't have the technology. And if you know that, because sun is giving us a very huge amount of energy, this is because of by nuclear fission or fusion. Kuldeep, Danish?
Ma'am, nuclear fission.
No, it's nuclear fusion. Solar
Okay.
sun have the capacity to give us enormous energy by nuclear fusion. But we as a scientific community right now don't have this feasible technology for the nuclear fusion, but we have the technology for nuclear fission. Okay, so we know that, because nuclear fission can be done when we have, like, we have water. In water we can extract the hydrogen, and if we can extract the hydrogen, there must be a lot of energy to collide two atoms of the hydrogen, that will release more energy. Okay, but we do not have that much technology for this nuclear fission. Okay, so stock resources are those resources that has been surveyed, but we lack the technology to use them. And if scientists are able to do the nuclear fusion, then there is a no need for the coal, there is a no need for oil, because when two hydrogen atom collides, it will release the energy that you can't imagine even. Okay, so these were the four different type of the resources based on the stage of the development. Okay, so our first part was the land resources. So what do you mean by land resources? Kuldeep, Danish, can anyone tell me what do you mean by land resources?
Yeah, ma'am. Land resources means the land that we can use to cultivate, the land that we can use to transport, the land that we can use for other purposes.
So are you saying that all the land we have, it is a kind of resource?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes, so we can say that the lithosphere consists, lithosphere is a kind of land, and lithosphere uh, makes this the land resources, right?
Yeah, ma'am. The upper crust is the land resource, and we can
Ye-
extract many things like many or many useful resources from land.
yes, but in the land resources we will try to explain whatever whatever on the surface, not below the surface, in this chapter. Okay, but in the minerals and this mineral resources, we will talk about this coal and fossil fuels. Okay, so if we talk about the land resources, then because land is so important for us, why? Because this is the soil, or this is the land on which forest can grow, and forest will give us the abundant services that we already studied in the ecosystem services that forest provides. Okay, and it is the land on which we can have the agriculture, on which we can grow our crop. Okay, and if we are talking about the agriculture, it doesn't mean only the cropland, but it also includes the cattle or the grazing part or the pasture land. Okay, so and the most part of our land is covered by the agriculture, or the agriculture is being expanding. Okay, so we will talk about it at length. Then we have the settlement. We have home, we have like institute, we have hospitals. So we need land for the settlement as well. Okay. Then we have the industries. So for to build up the industry, for to create any manufacturing unit, we must need a place. Okay. And this place is nothing but the land resources. And we have to have the land resources for anything we do. Okay. So for that, we must have that much land. For example, if the population is growing, we must need crops to grow. Okay. And if we don't have the space to grow the crops on the land, then yes, we are in the scarcity of the land resources. There is a kind of stress, or there is a kind of minus land resources. Okay. So we have a lot of picture today, or the charts we have. So here we can see that the share of land covered by the forest, and we can see that India, how much forest we have in India. Can you see from that picture?
Ma'am, 20 to 30%.
20 to 30%, exactly. And what percentage should we have as a country for the forest?
Ma'am,
Can,
one third of the total land area.
so what will be the one third? If we have 100%, then what will be the one third?
33.33.
33%.
Yes, exactly. And there was one policy according to which it was said that 33% of our total area should be covered by the forest. So what was the name of that policy, and when did it come? Can anyone guess?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
This is NFP, National. F means forest, P means policy. So this is it happened in 1988, I think. So in 1988, a policy has been released by the parliament, and this policy was based on that how much percentage of forest we must have as a country. Okay. So here we can see that in the African country, near to the South Africa, and in the Southern America, there is a more percentage of forest than whatever we have. If you can see that Russia also have a good percentage of forest, and we will also see that somewhere the forest is been decreasing and somewhere it is increasing. So what do you guess? In India, the forest is increasing or decreasing?
Ma'am, decreasing.
Danish?
Ma'am, decreasing.
No, it's increasing.
Oh,
Uh, but we have to keep in mind that in India, the percentage of forest is increasing every year, but the quality of forest is degrading. Because for
um,
example, if we had the evergreen forest, or if we had the dense forest, then this dense forest is shifting towards this open forest or low dense forest. The quality of the forest is being degraded, no doubt, but the percentage of forest is increasing because we want to achieve that 33 percentage of the forest area. And you must read that Forest Survey of India report. This released every year, and every year they update about the percentage of forest we have and whatever the changes has been done in the forest. So based on Forest Survey of India, the forest area is increasing day by day in India and in China as well. Okay. So yes, this is this is also the picture. Here you can also see that forest area is increasing in India as well as in China. Okay, this is very exceptional case when whole country is reducing the forest area, but India and China is increasing. Okay. And why this is happening? Like, what's the reason that this is happening? Can anyone guess? Danish, Kuldeep?
Ma'am, can you repeat the question, please?
Why India and China increasing their forest area? Why not all the countries?
Ma'am, I think because these countries have a large population, so to create the balance between man and natures, I think that
Yes,
should be
but
the reason.
yes, and this is all about the policies. What the policy you adapt in your country. The if you are every country has some approach. Either it want to go towards the sustainable development, and some countries are very capitalist in nature. They want only the money. Okay, but India or China is the country that is thinking about the quality of life. Okay, and to improve the quality of life we must have a forest area. Okay, so this is kind of approach and policies that countries are taking. Okay, so this is the reason. And here we can see in the South America. So this is the reason. Can you identify the country with what country it is? Red.
Red one, the Brazil.
Yes.
It is
uh,
Brazil.
yes, and in the Brazil, which type of forest you will find?
Ma'am, tropical dense
Tropical.
evergreen.
Yes, because why?
Ma'am, because of the location near equator.
Yes, exactly. Because it is near to the
For
equator, then you will find here the tropical rainforest. Okay, and this tropical rainforest is like the best forest we have in the world because it can store a very large amount of carbon in it and provide a lot of ecosystem services. But here we can see that in Brazil, the deforestation is happening at a very high pace. Okay, and if we see that most of the tropical countries, either it is the Brazil or in this Africa or these some countries of the Asia. Okay, here we can see that the forests are been degrading at the very fast pace, or the deforestation has been happen in the equatorial region. Okay, and why the deforestation is happening only in the equatorial region?
ma'am,
Yes, yes,
I really don't understand this why it is happening. Uh, these areas have lot, I mean, a huge amount of forests, so maybe they can cut some of the trees, something
yes,
like.
yes, exactly. Because these are the
And
tropical
for
rainforests.
economic purposes.
Exactly, because of the economy purpose, these countries think that because of the forest, they don't have the manufacturing unit, they don't have the industries because in that place they have the forest, and by forest they are not getting that much things that they should get. Okay, so based on the economic things, these countries are deforested the areas. Okay. Then here we have the percentage of annual change in the forest area, and we can also see that from 0 to 1% every year in India or in China, the forest is being increasing. Okay. But if you see in most of the Africa, most of the South America, even the Russia, there is a decrement in the forest area. Okay, so why we are decreasing this forest area in most of the world? The main or the dominating factor is nothing but the agricultural expansion. And if you see, uh, you can't see the yellow line, that is the build up area. Means build up area is increment in the build up area is very low, but the increment in the cropland or the grazing area is very high. Danish, I think this picture can explain the reason of the deforestation. It is not the settlement, or it is not the urbanization, but it's the agriculture or the cropland, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because in that there is a very yellow line that is showing the build-up area, and this is kind of negligible. But if we see that grazing area and the cropland, it has been increased after 1500. Okay, so this is the land use over the long term for the world from 0 to uh, 2016. Then, if we see country wise, or if we see region wise, the cropland extent over the long range, then we can see in the most of the areas this cropland has been increasing. Okay, either it is Oceania, either it is Africa, India, China, or the rest of the Asia. So everywhere this cropland has been increasing, and if there is an increment in the cropland, then how it is happening, how they can increase the cropland? So this must be the forest area that are being cut down, right? So if you see the grazing land use over the long term, so here again we are increasing our grazing land use, means we are cutting down our forest. Then if you see the share of land area used for the arable agriculture, then India, more than 70% India use their land for the agriculture. Okay, so this and if we can see that in the Russia, we have a very low land area that are arable for the agriculture. Why it is?
Because, ma'am,
It
of
is
the
so vast
uh,
and harsh
harsh and
climate.
cold climate.
Yes, exactly. Harsh. Why harsh?
Ma'am, severe cold, Siberia region.
Yes,
Or,
exactly. So
uh,
every time the
uh,
land is covered by snow, is it?
yeah, ma'am, in northeast it is like that.
Yes. And if you can see that in the tropical region, either it is South Africa or the South America, there is a very low areas that are arable for the agriculture. Why it is?
Because
Ma'am,
of the
because of the,
forest.
yeah, forest
One by
cover.
one.
Ma'am, because of the availability of forest, they are
Uh,
not actually cutting that much.
Okay, Danish, what's your answer?
Ma'am, another reason is that due to high temperature and high rainfall, the nutrients from the soil washed away, so the land is not so fertile to hold crops.
Yes, exactly. This is the reason, Kuldeep, because this is the area where there is a high temperature as well as high rainfall, and because of that, all the nutrients that we have, they are either depleted very easily because there is a high activity of microorganism, and leaching can also take place. So because of that, they don't have that much nutrient to hold the cropland, but they can hold the forest area. Okay, so this is also the one of the important region. Okay, uh, because agricultural land is the sum of the cropland and the pasture. So here we can see that how much area we have for the agricultural land. So either it is the America, North America, or it is China. Yes, Kuldeep.
Ma'am, India has same like Russia, same as Russia. Uh,
Yes.
it is really, I mean, amazing.
No, this is not amazing, but this explain like there it was for the cropland in the last chart, but in this chart, this is the agricultural land that is composed of both the cropland and the pasture land. Okay, and if you don't know that in Russia the grazing livestock is very high. Okay, and because of that the production of meat, the production of like poultry, everything is very high in this area. So this is only because it have the pasture land or the grazing livestock, but not for, this is not suitable for the cropland. Okay, so here we can see that mostly in the China and in the Australia, most of the land are being used for the agricultural land use. Okay, then if we see, this is I think repeated one, I should skip it. Okay, because we know that because of agriculture, we are just deforesting our forest. So we must know that what type of crop we are growing in that crop plant, based on which we are just destroying our forest. So what's the main or dominating crop we have? Okay, so if we see, the cereal is the dominating crop that is taking a large area over the world. Okay, it is taking approximately 700 million hectare. Okay, then we have the coarse grain, then oil crop or the oil equivalent, then pulse, then fruits, then root and tubers, vegetable, tree nuts, citrus fruit, jutes. So here we can see that the dominating major crop is nothing but the cereals. And why cereals?
Ma'am, it is the basic.
Ma'am, it is the basic and it is consumed by most of the like peoples around the world.
Yes, exactly. And can you tell me three or four name of the cereal?
Ma'am, wheat,
Yes,
uh,
Rice,
yes,
maize,
rye.
maize, yes, barley,
Yeah,
barley. Yes, ma'am.
yes. Anything else?
ma'am, you tell us.
Ragi,
Millets, ma'am.
millets, exactly. So we have
And
different type
corn.
of cereals. Yeah, I think you don't people eat that. What do you mean? That cornflakes, and the best part of cornflakes is what?
Ma'am,
Ma'am, it's very crunchy and tasty.
ma'am, it has um carbohydrates and protein, I think.
Yes. Okay. Let's move to the next slide. Okay, let's see the cereal production. So, cereal production consists of maize, wheat, rice, barley, rye, millet, and others. So, here we can see that most of the cereal production is in China, and then India, Russia, and uh, uh, America, Canada, and then this the South America. If we see the wheat production, so in wheat production, India and China are the dominating
Dominating
countries.
one.
What happened, Kuldeep?
Nothing, ma'am.
Okay. If we see the rice production, again, India and China and some of our Asian countries that are making the rice production very high. So what's why rice production is very high in India and China?
Ma'am, because of favorable climate and temperature.
Ma'am, monsoon.
Yes, exactly. What's the basic need that rice need for the production?
Ma'am, high precipitation, high
Yes,
amount of rainfall.
yes. So, does China have that much sufficient amount of rainfall?
Ma'am, in some areas it has in near South China Sea.
Uh, is there any role of the fertilizer as well?
Yes, ma'am.
So, um, uh, do other country not using the fertilizer, and maybe because of that rice production is low in other country, but in China and India it is higher, is it?
Ma'am, there is a reason because ma'am, rice is the staple food of India, China, in the like South Asian region,
Yes,
whereas wheat
this
is
is
the
the
staple
exact
food in the
reason.
other regions of the world. So, ma'am, the consumption is very high here. So, the production is also very high because of the intensive agriculture.
Yes, the reason is exactly the same because in Asia, either it is South Asia or whatever the part of Asia, in most of the part, the rice is main ingredient of their food. Okay, so this is kind of culture or the tradition they have to eat the rice. Okay, in every food. So that's why there is the high production of the rice in that countries. Okay, then we have the barley, and we can see that in the Russia and in the Australia there is the highest production of the barley. And why in Russia? Russia is not that much. good or the arable don't have that arable land for the production. So how can this Russia have good barley production?
Ma'am, in western region of Russia near Ukraine,
Mhm.
there is a type of soil that is known as Chermozem soil. It is very fertile for barley and cereals also. So I think that can be the reason.
Okay, and you people may also know the difference between there is some drought resistant crop, and there is also some like the crop we have that need very much amount of precipitation or the rainfall. So barley is the one of that crop that is drought resistant. Okay, that and this is kind of rough and tough type of a cereal we have. Okay, either it is millet or barley. They don't need anything in much amount, unlike the rice. In the rice we need a large amount of water, but for the barley or the for millet we don't need much amount of nutrients or the water, or they don't have any specific kind of requirement. So these kind of cereals can be grow mostly in everywhere. Okay, but yeah, not in that much extreme cases, but yes, they are very rough and tough type of the crops. Then we have the rye production. This rye production is also higher in that Russia area. So can you see that mainly in the China, Russia, and then in India, most of our like production is being happening. You will see next if we have the this rye is just like the mustard seed. This is kind of the sister of the mustard seed. So this is also used as a, cereal. Okay. Then we have the cassava production. So can you see where the cassava is being produced? What are these areas? Why not in that upper region? Why there is why this cassava is only in that
Ma'am,
region? Yes.
ma'am, these are the forest regions, tropical evergreen forest region like Brazil, uh, Congo, and Indonesia.
Yes,
So
yes,
maybe the
exactly.
climate.
uh, because cassava is a tropical crop. It can only grow in the tropical area. So that's why you will find the cassava production only in that area that is tropical in nature. Okay, and just like cassava we have yams is also one of the tropical cropland. So and because of this yam and the cassava, most of this Brazil area, the Brazil tropical forest is being cut down. Okay, then we have the potato production. So mostly in India and China the production is very high. Then we have the Russia and the North America. Then we have the soybean. Here we can see again because the large requirement of the soybean oil, deforestation been happening in the Brazil area, and then we have USA and some part of the China and the India. The soybean production is being done. So the basically thing that I want to tell you that there is a very unequal distribution of the land resources and the crop production, like based on the climate, based on the need of the people, based on the cultural aspect of the people. There is a different crop that are growing in a different area. So if we have pea, then we can see that Canada area and Russia, China, we have the high amount of the pea production. Then soybean, I just need to skip it. Then banana, orange, apple. Here you can see that apple production is higher or the highest in the China, but not in India. Why this is happening?
Ma'am, I think because of the China also lies in temperate region, so maybe that
Yes,
can be the reason.
yes, exactly. China has more favorable condition than India. India's only the Uttarakhand or the Himachal Pradesh area or the some Kashmir area. These areas only have the favorable condition, but for the China, it is like a large area they have that is in the favorable condition. So that's why apple production is highest in the China. Okay, then we can see the palm oil production. So palm oil production, and this is the main reason why the deforestation is happening in the Brazil, based on some crop, specific crop. This is the palm oil, because whenever you see that any kind of packaging is happening, like any kind of food packaging you have, then you will see the label of it. You will see that there is a palm oil that has been used in that food as an ingredient. Okay, so palm oil is using everywhere in the world, and because of that, this Brazil is also cutting down the forest for the sake of the production of the palm oil. Okay, so is agriculture land expanding? So we can see that somewhere, most of the area, the land is expanding, but in somewhere it is decreasing. And why it is decreasing?
Ma'am, because agriculture land is increasing, then it is replacing the forest.
It is replacing the forest. That's why agriculture land is expanding. But if you see that in India, China, Russia, even in the North America, there is a decrement in the agricultural land. Why this is happening?
Because of the population.
Yes, and what's the need of the population?
The agricultural land is getting converted into towns and cities.
Yes, exactly. First, we cut the forest to have the agriculture area. Then, these agriculture areas are also reduced because there is a need for the urbanization. There is a need for the settlements. Okay, and this doesn't mean that the crop production has been decreased. It is day by day increasing. Why?
To
Ma'am,
fulfill the needs.
because of the technology and the new sort
Yes.
of
Yes,
fertilizer.
yes, exactly. Because of the use of the fertilizer, the efficiency, the technology we have right now in a very small area, we can grow a huge amount of cereal or the crop. But in some in past, there were large area, but production was very low. And right now, the production is higher, even increasing because of the technology. Okay. So what's the difference between intensive agriculture and extensive agriculture? Who will answer it? Danish?
Ma'am, what is the question?
What's the difference between intensive agriculture and extensive agriculture? There is a two type of agriculture, intensive and extensive. So what's the difference between it? Because here the headline is extent of intensive agriculture, and if we see in the next slide, we have the extent of intensive agriculture. So I want to know the difference between these two type of agriculture.
Ma'am, I know about the intensive
Mhm.
agriculture. Uh,
Okay.
in this, we use a lot of labor resources.
Yes, exactly. And opposite of it is the extensive agriculture.
Oh,
If we are
ma'am.
using the if we are not using that much capital or labor in that agriculture, then it will be the extensive. But if we are using a high amount of capital and the labor, everything, or the resources we are using, then it will be the intensive agriculture. So here we can see that intensive agriculture are widespread in the India and the China region. Then if we talk about the extensive agriculture, then extensive agriculture is widespread in most of the part of this Africa. Okay. And why this is? Because we need plain area to have the intensive agriculture. We must have the fertile land to have the intensive agriculture. And if this is the if this is not the case, then only the extensive agriculture will be happen there. Okay, then we have the impact of agriculture. The first is deforestation. Why? Because we are expanding our area for the agriculture, or that's why the deforestation is been happening. Then the soil erosion. Why soil erosion is happening? Because of agriculture. Any guess? Any guess?
Ma'am,
Danish?
ma'am,
Yes, Kuldip.
because we have to plug the field every
Yes.
year, so the wind takes does the erosion.
Yes, this is the reason, and you people also know that after some time we have to like cut down the crops, like we have to harvest the crop, and for that time being we don't have anything, we don't have anything in that crop land. Okay, and if there is a rain, or if anything is happening, then the soil erosion will happen. Because this is not like the forest, in which there is always some kind of trees or leaves on the soil, so that it can prevent the soil erosion. Then increase the sedimentation will also happen due to the agriculture, climate change. We also know that. Can you tell me, like in the climate change, albedo has a very dominating role. Okay, and in that role, there is a different structure of agriculture as well as the forest in the albedo, and that's why the climate change. So can you tell me, is the albedo of crop is higher than the forest or not? What do you mean by albedo first?
Ma'am,
Yes.
albedo will be higher in forest than the crop.
No. Just tell me first, what do you mean by albedo?
Albedo is the amount of solar rays
Yes.
that are reflected.
Yes, exactly. And this is based on the color of the soil or the color of the surface we have, right?
Yes, ma'am.
If it is darker in color, if soil is darker in color, then there will be less reflection. Okay, and if there is a like whiter color, or if there is a very faded color, if there is a light color, then more reflection will be taken place, just like the ice we have. Because of ice, because of being whiteness of the ice, the albedo is very high in the in the Antarctica or Arctic region. Is it, Philip?
Yes, ma'am. This
So which one is the darker area, forest area or the cropland?
forest areas, I think.
Ma'am,
Yes,
forest area.
so forest area is the darker, so the albedo will be lower or
Lower,
higher?
lower.
Lower. It means that because of low albedo, uh, like warming can be taken place in the forest.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. But it is like there are so many paper in which it has been said that because forest is being darker area as comparison to the cropland, it is causing the warming. But this is not very dominating factor, or not very dominating contributing factor, because there is a kind, if you know the terminology evapotranspiration, that is very dominating in the tropical forest, and this evapotranspiration will counterattack the albedo effect, and the because of evapotranspiration, cooling will happening in the forest area. Is it is it clear to you all?
Yes, ma'am.
uh,
Ma'am,
yes.
ma'am, I want to know about the increased sedimentation. What does it mean?
uh, it means nothing, but it is like when you have the forest, then whenever there is like it is kind of the barrier that is happening because of the forest area. But in the crop area, we don't have that much kind of barrier, and it will it will increase the sedimentation. Okay. Okay, Then we were talking about the climate change. There are some studies that are saying that because we are converting forest to the cropland, and this cropland has the high reflection or the higher albedo, and because of that we also have some cooling effect. And yes, it is true, cropland has some cooling effect, but not that much that forest have because of the evapotranspiration. So you have to keep in mind the albedo effect and also the evapotranspiration and other ecosystem services that the forest provides. Then increase in the soil salinity. Why agriculture leads to the increase in soil salinity? Danish, will you answer?
Ma'am, because of high use of high fertilizers and manures.
Okay, but we are talking about the salinity, and salinity always occur already in the water. Okay, and because of the irrigation, most of the water get evaporates, and because of that, the residual of minerals in the water is on the surface of the cropland, and this because most of the minerals like sodium chloride this or magnesium, these kind of minerals are present in the water, and if we are irrigating our land, then sometime what will happen, these minerals will remain in the soil, and this will increase the soil salinity. Then increase in the soil alkalinity. So whatever Danish you told there, this was the example of the soil alkalinity. Because of the fertilizer, most of this fertilizer are increasing our soils alkalinity. Then the death of soil biota, because there is a higher use of fertilizer, excessive use of fertilizer, and uh, based on that, uh, soil biota are being dying. Okay, but if we have the application of manure in that area, then yes, we can revive our soil biota. Then pollution, because if there is a fertilization sorry, if there is a fertilizers in that, and this fertilizer will go on in the water bodies, and this will pollute whole water body and whole area. Okay, so this will lead to the pollution. Then the death of pollinators and biodiversity, uh, because why, if you know that in the forest there is a kind of very much stories for the forest. Like if we talk about the tropical forest, we have herb, we have shrub, we have tall trees, we have climbers, creepers. So we have a like multi-story forest. Okay, and in the crops we only have one story. So whatever the pollinators, whatever the biodiversity, this will be more in the forest area, because there is a large space, or very differentiated type of habitat it can form within the forest. Okay, but in the agriculture this can't be happen. Then water logging and the water contamination, this I told as the example with the fertilizer. Then the eutrophication, you people already know about the eutrophication. It is the enrichment of nutrients in the water body. In this way, because of higher nutrients in the water body, this water body will convert into the swampy land or the wetland, and then just like a land. Okay, means the water body will be finished in some time. So this is the eutrophication. So because of fertilizer, which nutrient will leads to the eutrophication because of fertilizer? Which kind of nutrient?
Nitrogen
Nitrogen, phosphorus,
and
Sulfur.
potassium.
and potassium. So mainly because of phosphorus, eutrophication is being happening. Because if you know that in river uh, there is enough amount of nitrogen already, but there is a scarcity of phosphorus in the water body, and if we get some kind of phosphorus from somewhere else, then there will be like expansion of phytoplanktons or planktons, because there is a scarcity of this kind of minerals. So if fertilizer is providing such mineral, then there will be high growth of the phytoplanktons or the organism within the water bodies, and because of the sedimentation, because of the dying of that organism, sedimentation will happen, uh, uh, happen very rapidly, and because of that, this water body will convert into the swampy land or the kind of land. Okay, this is the succession, if you people know. This is the fast succession done by the anthropogenic way. Then the disruption of food chain, because we know that in the forest there is a higher number of biodiversity, and if we don't have that much biodiversity, then the disruption of food chain will also happen. Disruption of water flow, this is also the case, like in the forest there is a many channels, or there are many ways for the water flow, but if there is a cropland or if there is a agriculture, then disruption of water flow will also happen. Then the land subsidence, what do you mean by land subsidence? Kuldeep, Danish, are you here? Have you gone? Have you slept?
No, ma'am.
Okay, what do you mean by land subsidence?
Um, Zameen ka dhas jana, something like that.
Yes, and why it is happening?
Um, ma'am, I don't know.
uh,
Earthquake, something.
what?
Earthquake,
Yes.
landslides.
Yes, one reason is earthquake. The second and important reason from the anthropogenic approach is that if we are extracting a large amount of groundwater, then there will be nothing below the surface, and because there will be hollow like condition below the surface, and this will lead to the land subsidence. So because of the high demand of the irrigation in the agriculture, most of the water, most of the groundwater is being used for the for the irrigation, and this can lead to the land subsidence. Then there is also impact, there is also some impact of the GM crops. What do you mean by GM crops? Can anyone explain what do you mean by GM? Genetically modified. So how this genetically modified crop can impact? Kuldeep wanted to say something, but
Um,
what do you mean by genetically modified crops, GM crops?
Ma'am, these are the crops that are modified so that we can produce such a crop that is even not suitable in that region.
Yes,
Um,
exactly. And what will be the impact of these crops on
Ma'am,
climate? It may be that, because if you know that BT cotton, in that if you know the story of the suicide of farmers in Maharashtra because of the BT cotton was nothing but the GM crop of for the cotton. And what happened initially in the past, that every time a infection or the pest whatever had in the environment, they used to inflict these kind of crops. So what scientists did, that they just genetically modified the crop in such a way that whenever there is a pest or there is a kind of insect that is sitting on that cotton, the and when it will eat the part of that cotton, so the gut of that insect will be poisoned. Okay, and this pest or the insect will be killed. So such kind of genetically modification has been happened. And it was also happened that some of these seeds were not produced in a very good manner. Based on that, for farmers, farmers just bought these kind of seeds in a very expensive way, and they found that there is a no use of that seeds. And and because of that, the input capital was very high as comparison to output. They didn't get the output because somehow the seed that were produced in the company were not matching what should be the cotton seed. Okay, so in that way there was a like a very large series of farmers suicide in the Maharashtra. So The crux is that because of genetically modified organism, there may be like some effect on the biodiversity. For example, insect, the behavior of the insects can be changed because of the genetically modified crops, because they have to adjust themselves if they are resisting. And one reason of the suicide was also happening because uh, every insect got the resistance from that, and because getting the resistance, they can also infect this cotton. Okay, and because of that suicide happened. So there is a like huge loss because of the genetic modified crop. If you know that, we have one committee in India that passes like which crop should be genetically modified or not, and they are just holding the mustard seed that has been genetically modified, because they would just want to know what type of effect, what type of impact that will have in the environment or on the biodiversity before passing this type of crops. So this is the impact of the genetically modified crops. Okay, then because we know that because of agricultural area, the climate change is happening. Why this climate change is happening? If you see the cumulative carbon dioxide emission from land use change, you will see in China and in Russia, where there is a like huge agricultural area, there is a higher emission of the carbon dioxide from the land use change. So you can see that agriculture is also the main important player that is emitting very much CO2 in our environment. If you know that, one question is from my side is that which kind of greenhouse gas is being releasing by the rice? It is carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxide, or the methane?
Ma'am, methane.
Methane. Why?
Ma'am, because of the wetland. The water
Yes.
covers the land, and so the wetlands releases the methane. I mean, I don't
Why?
know that.
Why wetland release the methane?
Um,
The reason is you can differentiate between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. What's the difference between aerobic and anaerobic organism or the respiration?
ma'am, I don't know.
Okay.
Ma'am, aerobic respiration requires oxygen, and anaerobic respiration does not require oxygen.
Yes, exactly. You know that if we inhale, okay, if we breathe, if we respire, we need oxygen and we release carbon dioxide out of it. So we are aerobic. We need oxygen for the respiration. And there are some organisms that don't need oxygen for the respiration. And if there is a no oxygen, uh, suppose if let's say glucose, we have glucose in our body, this glucose will react with the oxygen and will release the CO2, because O2 has been taken by our nose or the respiratory system. But if we don't have that O2 oxygen, then this will create CH4, that is methane. So this is kind of anaerobic respiration. Because of the wetlands, there is an anaerobic respiration. There is a no direct contact of atmosphere with the organism, and organism are not capable to do the aerobic. So there are the organisms that are anaerobic in nature. So because of anaerobic, there will be higher amount of methane that will be released either from the wetland or from the rice or the paddy fields, right? Is it clear, Kuldeep? Okay.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, then we will see the fertilizer use per hectare of the arable land. Then we will see China, and China is using a huge amount of fertilizers, and this may be the one reason why this China is producing that a large amount of food, because you saw in last charts. Okay, then in the agriculture, I told you that in the agriculture we consist cropland as well as the grazing or the cattle rearing as well. Okay, and if you will see that land use per 100 gram of protein, to get per 100 gram of protein, the lamb or mutton is taking 184.8 meter square area. But if it is like a groundnut or the peanut, it is taking a very large area for producing 100% 100 gram of protein. Why it is? uh, yes, can anyone answer why the cheese beef or cheese beef are taking a large area, but the groundnut or peas are taking a very less area for 100 gram of protein production? Any guess?
Ma'am, because ma'am, groundnuts, peas, these take a lot of time to grow and need favorable climates, whereas lamb, mutton, or beef, these does not take like long time to grow, and whereas cheese can be prepared from milk easily.
Okay. The reason is that, Danish, uh, because either to produce the cheese, milk, beef, mutton, we must have the cropland on which our animal will graze, right? So for the production of protein, or for the production of food from the animal husbandry, we must have the crops on which it will survive. Okay, and the crop on which it is grazing is the larger area than because this is also, like, you can also understand it from the producer and consumer, like in the food chain. If and the 10% law, if you know that, do you know the 10% law in the ecosystem, in the food chain?
Yes, ma'am.
What it is?
Ma'am, if we are consuming something that
Mhm.
uh, we are only getting the 10% energy of it.
Yes. So if let's say grass has 1000 energy, then the primary consumer means deer will get only 100 calorie energy. Then if we are eating the deer, then we will get only 10% energy of it, 100. Okay, so we will get 10. So this is kind of the 10% law in the ecosystem. So whenever we are whenever this energy is moving from producer to consumer, so the energy will be less in that that consumer. And this is the one reason. The second is reason, to get the mutton, beef, cheese or milk, we must have the cropland first. Because if that cropland is being grazed by that animal, this animal will produce the cheese, mutton or whatever, beef. Okay, so and that's the reason why beef, cheese and milk are more expensive than these peas, groundnut and cereals. Okay, because uh, there is a large requirement of capitals or large requirement of land for the production of such kind of foods such as mutton, beef and cheese. That's why people are and when there is the environmentalist, they are saying that go vegan. Why go vegan? Because the footprint for producing the cheese, the milk is very higher. And because of that, they just want that go to vegan, but we can't go because we don't like the food of the vegan, right? Anyway, so next is okay, let's come to the water resources because it has been time. Danish, what happened? You just like mutton, chicken, beef, and you don't
No,
want to
ma'am,
begin?
not at all. I only like chicken and seafood.
Okay. Uh, okay. So next is water resources. We have completed the land resources, what the impacts can be, and what type of crops we produce, and there is a unequal distribution of the cropland and the land resources on our world. Then let's come to the distribution of water on the land. So we already know that only 1% of water is available as the fresh water for us. Okay. Then if you see that, because I told you again that water is unequally distributed. So if we see this chart, internal renewable fresh water resources by region, you will see that South America has a very large amount of uh, water resources. So here we can see the definition. It is referred to the quantity of the internal fresh water from inflowing river basin and recharging groundwater aquifers. So South America has a lot of water, but as we see in the Central Asia and the Northern America, we have a very few amount of water. Yes, Kuldeep.
Ma'am, in South America, we have a large amount of fresh water. Is it in the form of groundwater?
It is here you can see that fresh water from inflowing river basin
Oh,
and
okay.
recharging groundwater aquifers.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes. Then if we see that per capita renewable freshwater resources, then once again the South America has per capita highest renewable freshwater resources. But here we can see that Northern Africa has a very low renewable freshwater resources, because we are now comparing per capita and population in Africa is very high.
There is nowhere Asia in top five.
Yes. Why? Because per capita it is very low. Because in the Asia, most of the population lives.
Population lies, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Then the freshwater withdrawals as a share of internal resources, means how much water we are taking out, and whether we are extracting more resources than whatever the recharging of groundwater is happening. So if we see that uh, here the red areas, here we are the consumption or the withdrawal of water is higher than the recharge of the groundwater. And in India, here it is a medium stress, means of course the extraction is higher, but not that much as in the as in this UAE and the upper part of the African countries. Okay, but yes, here we can see that in most of the world there is a kind of more extraction or more withdrawal than the recharging of the groundwater. Then if we see the annual freshwater withdrawal, here India and China and even the USA, it is extracting or withdrawing a huge amount of water. Okay, then if we are talking about the per capita, here we can see in the last chart, we can see the withdrawal is very high for the China and India. But if we are comparing it per capita, then it is not that much because of the higher population. Then the agricultural water withdrawal. Because of the agriculture, we are extracting water, like more water in India, China, and in the USA for the agricultural purpose. If we are seeing that mostly like 80 to 100% of water is being withdrawn for the agricultural purpose in India. So can you can assume that how much water and how much resources India is taking just to grow the crops. For the crops, it is like deforesting the forest, it is just taking the area for the crop production, and it is also taking huge amount of water resources as well. So see how much expensive it is to have the crop production or to have the agriculture. Then share of the agriculture land which is irrigated, so India and Pakistan come at the first. Then the industrial water withdrawal, in that China and USA is leading. Then if we see industrial water as a share of total water withdrawal, then we will see that uh, Germany is at the upper hand. Then we have the North America, China, Latin America. India is very near to 0 to 20 because most of our country is based on the agriculture. But yes, we are growing in the industrial areas, but we are not taking that much amount for the industrial areas because the proportion of the agriculture and the industry is very low in India. Then the municipal water withdrawal means for the consumption by the human being to drink the water. So if we see that in India and China, municipal water withdrawal is very high. uh, the crux is that global water, fresh water use is increasing day by day in the world. If we see in 1901, it was only 500 billion meter cube, but right now it has been reached 4 trillion meter cube. Like this much amount of water we are using. So this is very huge number. This is also fresh water used by aggregated regions. So here we can also do some comparison. So this is just these charts are just need to show you that use of water for the agriculture, basically for the agriculture, for the municipal, for the industries, and how much water we are recharging in the groundwater, and how much stress we have right now from in the view of the water resources. So if you see the water, freshwater resources per capita, then we will see in Brazil it is in Brazil the it is decreasing. Why it is decreasing? Because there is a no more water resource in that country, so it has to be decreased. Then this is the same, I should skip it. Yes, here we can also see the example for that go for vegan wala cheese. So fresh water withdrawal per kilogram of food product. Here we can see for the production of cheese, nut, fish, prawns, beef, we need a huge amount of water. Okay, but for like maize, apple, banana, citrus fruit, wine, potato, and root vegetable, we need a very low amount of water for the 1 kilogram of food production. My voice is audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
My connection is, I think I lost my connection. Trying to renew. Are you able to see my slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I can't see. Where,
Oh,
yes, because there is an error that it has been written that you lost your network connection. Trying to reconnect. So
hi, hello.
Hi. क्या
कुछ नहीं.
तुम्हें पता
मुझे
है ना हम रिकॉर्ड हो रहे हैं.
Yes.
मैम बाद में देखेंगे कि हम क्लास में बातें कर रहे हैं.
हाँ तो कोई बात नहीं, कुछ गलत तो नहीं कर रहे हैं, बात तो कर रहे हैं.
हाँ.
ये बताओ, नमकीन खाओगे?
तुम बेशरम चुप रहो. नमकीन खाओगे?
नहीं
हाँ
खानी
तुम.
है, बताओ, मैं लेकर आऊंगा.
हाँ वीडियो कॉल कर ले तो. हाँ मेरे लिए लेके आना, ठीक है?
we are here.
या मैम.
Okay, I have lost my connection. I don't know, something else happened. क्या लेके आना था ट्यूसडे को?
मैम नमकीन मंगा रहा है वो मुझसे.
Why namkeen? Like you are going for the shopping or somewhere on Tuesday?
नो मैम.
मैम
वो
जब मैं
अभी
इससे
नमकीन खा रहा था तो उसने कहा खाओगे. मैंने कहा हाँ, तो कह रहा मैं लेता आऊंगा.
Okay, okay. Okay, so we were talking about fresh water withdrawal per kilogram of food product, but this kilogram of food product is not the measure of how much nutrients we are getting. So for that, there is a one chart that will explain 100 gram of protein. So to get 100 gram of protein from the cheese or nuts or prawns or milk, we have to consume a lot of water as comparison to eggs, poultry meat, or other pulses or peas. If we compare 1000 kilocalories comparison of the food and the water withdrawal, then we will see that most of the products that are seafood and even some milk or the dairy products that are consuming a large amount of water. Then the utrifying emission per kilogram of food product. Utrifying, you people know about it. Then the beef, fish, and prawns are emitting a large number of utrifying nutrients in such a way that it is polluting the ecosystem or the water bodies. Okay, then there is some steps to conserve water resources, and these steps are: we have to reduce the wastage whenever we are like, there are some etiquettes. If you are taking shower, or if you are just taking one bucket of water to bath, so there may be some difference. Okay, if you are bathing 1 hour and if you are bathing like 3 or 5 minutes, then there is a difference. So you have to reduce the wastage of water. So this is the first step you have to take. Then the reduce water consumption in water. If there is a, like, how we can reduce the water consumption, so there are many ways. Avoid the leakage. If we have the pipelines that are leakaging, and this leakaging can withdraw a lot of water from the groundwater. So this kind of leakage should be stopped. Then the irrigate when only necessary. Uh, because we know that in Haryana and Punjab, excessive irrigation has been happening, and there is a no that much need of the irrigation, but this is happening. So we must irrigate only when there is a necessary. So there are some technique based on the soil moisture. So there is a kind of sensor that will sense how much moisture the soil has, and based on that, there will be the automatically thing. If the moisture is that much enough, then the irrigation will be stopped. So this is kind of the automation based on measuring the soil moisture. Then we must use the drip irrigation. So what do you mean by drip irrigation? What's the difference between drip and sprinkler irrigation? This is 8th or ninth class NCR science NCRT's question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, drip irrigation is basically uh, the process. It channelize the water to direct to the roots of the plants to,
Exactly.
like, uh, save water. And sprinkler is just like in the form of rain.
Yes, exactly. And so we must use the drip irrigation so that whatever the amount we are extracting from the groundwater, it go directly to the roots of the crop. Okay, and there is one another advantage of the drip irrigation. One is that we will conserve the water resource. What can be the second advantage of using the drip irrigation? In the form of weeds removal. Can you guess? If in the crop we have the wheat or rice, in between that wheat or rice we have some weeds, means not useful
Unwanted
grasses.
plants.
Yes, and if there is a drip system, then the water will not be available to the weeds. It will only available to the roots of the wheat or the rice. So the removal of weeds will be the automatically because of the drip irrigation. Then we should cover our soil with ground cover fabrics to reduce the evaporation. Okay, we should use the mulching. What do you mean by mulching, Kuldeep, Danish?
I don't know.
Mulching is nothing but laying down the leaf on the ground. or laying down some type of organic matter on the soil, so that it can reduce the evaporation and it can hold the moisture within the soil. So this is kind of some organic matter such as leaf or some decaying part of the plant that has been spread over the soil to hold the moisture. So this is kind of mulching. Then we have to increase the soil health with lots of composite and the supporting organic material. Means we can use the manure as well to conserve water resources. Then use contour forming. What do you mean contour forming, Kuldeep?
Ma'am, basically it
Ma'am,
is a technique of. Okay, Kuldeep, go on.
Okay, Kuldeep, go on.
ma'am, it is it the farming on the hills,
Yes,
foothills?
yes, exactly. So what's the advantage of contour farming?
Ma'am, we don't need a lot of water to irrigate. The water will go and flow over the
Yeah.
steps or
Yes, yes, exactly. So in this contour farming, there is a step-like or staircase-like structure, and because of that stair-like structure, we have two advantages. One is when water is coming from the up, it will like go to the first stair, then go to the second stair. So water will go on, and it will like the requirement of the crop will be fulfilled from that much amount of water. The first thing is that. The second thing is that if there is a steep slope on the hill, then there will be a higher amount of the water velocity will be higher, and because of higher water velocity, erosion will also happen. Okay, and if there is a contour farming, then the water velocity will be reduced as well, and if it is reduced, then it will not there will be no erosion but the sedimentation, and sedimentation is good for us, for the hilly area, because if there is a sedimentation, if there is a like this will makes the soil at that part, and this soil will be used for the cropping. So use the contour farming. Then use plant with high water uses efficiency, such as the GM plants we told, genetically modified, or we told about the millets or the barley, when there is a no need for the higher amount of waters, and because the water uses efficiency of that plant is very high. Plants that suits the region and climate, we must not grow that type of plants that are not suited to that region or the climate, because we have to give more input to let them grow. Okay, so we must grow the plants that suit the region and the climate. Promote dry farming and use rotation grazing, use cover crops, and reduce water consumption in industry. So this way we can reduce our water usage. Then the second step is, we are reducing the water usage, then we also have to increase the recharge. We have to recharge our groundwater, because right now in most of our cities, we are just depleting our water recharge. Can you tell me one city that has been declared that there is no groundwater right now in India? Can you guess one city?
is it ma'am Johannesburg from South Africa?
No, I'm talking about India only right now.
Ma'am, is it Ladakh?
No.
Ma'am, no idea about the name.
Uh, have you heard about the water scarcity in Chennai
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah.
and even in Mumbai? So I think Chennai, there is no much groundwater left in Chennai. So these people are suffering very much, and the government of Chennai or the Tamil Nadu is thinking about like how we can desalinate the oceans, and how we can after that desalination, how we can get the fresh water from the ocean. So they are working on the technology as well, because the groundwater of Chennai has been like almost almost finished. Okay, so we have to recharge our for our groundwater. So how we can recharge? We have to increase recharge in the forest, and how we can do it? after afforestation, reforestation, but not the deforestation. So if we are increasing our forest area, so because this is the soil from where water can go down, and recharge of groundwater can be happened. Insist on using product from sustainably managed system. So whatever we are doing, we have to do it in a very sustainable manner, so that we can manage our system in such a manner that we don't the recharge is happening with the pace that is needed even in the future. Then we have to save the wetland, because wetland is very important for recharging the groundwaters. Why? Because it has a direct link with the groundwater and even with the water bodies. So we have to save the wetland as well. Then increase recharge in agricultural field. Use sunken crop beds with capture water and use bunds. Means if you people saw that there is there is some like layer of the crop that is very undulating in the agricultural field, and in that undulating you see that in between that, like if there is a bottom, then we will grow crop there, but in the upper portion we will not grow. So this is kind of bunds, and these bunds will increase the recharge. Okay. Then we increase recharge in homes. For example, we can create
Rainwater
rainwater
harvesting.
yes, exactly, and even the rain gardens as well. Then increase recharge in settlements. Promote use of paving blocks in place of concrete. If you see that there is a paving block is kind of 15 into 15-meter blocks that make the roads, but in spite of concrete, because in concrete the water can't go down. But if we have blocks and we have road made by these kind of paving blocks, then the recharge can be happened in the settlement area. Okay, the third is protect what is available. So water bodies are not dumping area. We can't whatever the sewage wastewater is, we are dumping into the water bodies. If you know that what's the right now, what's the status of the Ganga and Yamuna, so it has been polluting that much that we can't use the water of it. Okay, so why this is happening? Because most of the industries are releasing their effluent and wastewater into that water bodies. So this must not be happen. If they are if they are if they are just uh, dumping this kind of wastewater in the water bodies, then this must be treated before disposing. Means it must be neutralized, and it must be suppose some industry is releasing the water that is like the temperature of that water is very high, so we can't dispose it. We have first treat it, we first have to neutralize it. Like the temperature of the water is not that much high ki, it will lead to the dying of the organism in the water body. So we have to treat it, and whenever there is a acid or basicity in the wastewater, then we have to treat it before disposing. Then go organic. Reduce use of the fertilizer, because whenever we are using the fertilizer, it is just polluting our water body. So we have to apply the organic approach. Then garner support of community. This is kind of like human behavior. If you have some feeling that yes, we want to conserve the water resources, then you can garner a support of the communities. Then you can also talk to your representative. If there is a MLA or if there is a leader in your community, then you can discuss like this much water is wasting in that way, and this way you can save the water resources. So this way you can conserve the water reserves. Okay, then we have the minerals and energy resources. So what do you mean by minerals? What's the definition of it? Danish, Kuldeep? Am I audible? Okay, something has happened. Okay, let me explain the definition of minerals. So minerals are nothing but the Okay, Kuldeep. So minerals are naturally occurring inorganic solids with a definite composite and a definite atomic arrangements, and these are also unequal distribution distributed. We will also see some chart in which it will we will see that minerals are unequal distributed. So based on the economic approach, mineral has been classified into metallic and non-metallic. In the metallic, we have ferrous and non-ferrous. Uh, Okay, right now it is it audible for you? Danish, can you listen to me? Okay. For the metallic, we have the ferrous and non-ferrous. For the non-metallic, we have the fuel minerals and the other minerals. So, for example of the ferrous mineral is iron, and non-ferrous mineral is, let's say, mica or something else. Okay, so these are metallic and non-metallic minerals. Then if we see, because in the last slide we showed that the minerals are unequally distributed. So here are some examples from which we can see that yes, they are unequally distributed. So if there is the diamond production, then most of the diamonds are coming from the Russia. Okay, Russia and some part of. Can you identify this country? Which is this country? This is also producing diamond in huge
Yes,
amount.
ma'am. Yes,
Uh,
ma'am. First
it,
one is Russia, then
uh-huh.
Australia, then it is Canada and
Mhm.
DRC, some Brazil also, with India, China, and then South Africa. Uh, I don't know what is the name, Mozambique or something like.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so if we talk about the uranium production, then Canada and this part, I think this is Uzbekistan or something. Uh,
Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan.
okay, Kazakhstan. So this area,
Uzbekistan is uh, below Kazakhstan.
okay, so these are producing higher amount of uranium production. So why do we need uranium?
Uranium to produce energy for, uh, I mean, uranium can be used as, ma'am, you told us about the nuclear
Yes,
fusion. It
yes,
can be used
exactly.
something like that.
So here the nuclear fission will be happen in the uranium, and whenever there is a nuclear fission, so the amount of energy that will release will be high. Uh, do we use the uranium in the atomic bomb as well?
Maybe
Uh,
yes.
yes, yes, we use it. And most of the production of, like, for the electricity, whenever there is a nuclear power plant, then we use uranium for the electricity production as well. Then we have the lithium production. So where, here we can see China, Australia, and this part, what is this, in South America, there is a dark
Ar-
blue color, which,
Argentina
Ma'am,
and
Chile.
Chile. Argentina and Chile.
yes, this is Argentina, and the coastal area is Chile. So here we have the higher lithium production. So lithium are used for what?
Batteries.
Batteries, yes. Then we have the cobalt production. So here we can see in the in Africa there is a high amount of cobalt production, but also in Canada, in Russia, and in the China or the Australia part as well. So what's the use of cobalt production? Use of cobalt production. How we can use the cobalt?
Ma'am, don't know.
Oh, it is used to make like, it is a kind of catalyst for the petroleum and some industries as well. There is so many use for this. Like it is also used as a drying agent for the paints and even for the dry bags. So there is a huge demand of cobalt in market. Okay, so next we have the fossil fuel consumption. Okay, so because we are talking about minerals and energy resources, so let's talk about this fossil fuel consumption. And if we see here, we have the USA and USA and China, Russia, India. These are using fossil fuel in higher amount. Okay, why this is happening? See, USA has a USA is better in the technology. In spite of that, it is using the fossil fuel. Why? Any reason?
Uh, Ma'am, because of geopolitical reasons.
Yes, because of geopolitical region
Uh,
and yeah,
we s-
and
we can
yes,
say that it's not like using, it's storing the like fossil fuel like petroleum, petrol, diesel like this
yes, and
to use in future.
one reason is that because there is a higher amount of fossil fuel in that countries as well, and it is cheaper to consume the fossil fuel rather than the renewable fuels. So that's why these countries is using the fossil fuel in high amount, right? Then we have the global fossil fuel consumption. If we are saying that either it is coal, oil, or gas, it is being increasing, uh, increasing over the years. Then the share of the primary energy from fossil fuel, if you see that India, uh, between 80 to 90% all of the energy are being getting from the fossil fuels. Okay, so you have to see like how much energy we are getting from the fossil fuels. Then electricity production from fossil fuel, you will see that some of the energy, like 0 to 20% energy is we are getting from the nuclear, but fossil fuel has a big chunk, approximately 60%, and renewable now it will increase, and fossil fuel will decrease. But yes, right now fossil fuels are more, we are using more fossil fuel for the electricity production rather than nuclear or the renewable. If we see the fossil fuel consumption per capita, then yes, no doubt here you saw that where was it? Here you saw that fuel consumption is very high for the India, but per capita it is very low. Here 63119 kilowatt hours. Okay, it is very low because it is per capita, because we have the higher population. Then fossil fuel consumption by fuel type. Here we can see oil, coal, and the gas. So here we can see the amount that we are consuming of the different fuels. Then the annual change in fossil fuel consumption. Here we can see that the change in the fossil fuel consumption. We are if we are more consuming it, then it will be in the brown color, and if we are reducing the consumption of it will be in the bluish or marine blue color. Okay, marine green color. So here we can see that fossil fuel consumption is increasing in India till now. Okay, but right now China and Russia is moving towards the renewable energy. Then the share of the electricity production from fossil fuel, this is again India is approximately 80% using fossil fuel for the electricity production. And some of these countries, this UAE and this Asian UAE and what kind of countries these are that are using that much fossil fuel, like up to 100%? So can you name one or two Arabic countries?
Ma'am, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Qatar,
Yes,
Libya, Egypt, Jordan.
yes, yes. So these countries are mostly 100% electric production is due to the fossil fuel. Then we have per capita electricity generation from fossil fuel. Here we can see India is a very lighter color because of the population. Then we have the coal production. So China, the coal production in China is higher. In India as well as it is higher, but if we see that in United States it has been increased, but it is now going downward. Then the per capita generation of coal. electricity, so then we can say that China and Australia are using more coal for the electricity generation. Then electricity from coal. This is again, now we have the coal reserves. India also have good amount of coal reserves. So India, then Canada, this is USA, and then Russia, Australia. These have a good amount of coal reserves. Then this is electricity production. I think I should. Uh, this is not that much important. Then the oil production, per capita oil production, United State oil consumption is very high. Why? Danis, can you guess why per capita oil consumption in United States is very high as comparison to India?
Ma'am, I don't know.
It may be that they are now, because they are the advanced and the developed country, they are using like they are buying more cars than India have. Is it? Or
Yes.
Ma'am, I don't
or
think so, ma'am.
okay, what may be the possible reason, Kuldeep?
It can be the other reason, ma'am.
Yes,
I
yes,
think
exactly.
we have more cars than them.
Okay. Here the per capita oil consumption is higher in United States. Most of because there is a like, because it has been developed country. Everything is very automatically and based on the electricity. Right now, like in some places, we are just washing our clothes by the hands. But if you go to the United States, no one wash their clothes by hands. They just using the washing machine. We don't have oven in every home in the India, but in the United States, like all the instruments are based on the electricity in the United States, because they has been developed. Okay. And there are industries, there are vehicles, and that's why the oil consumption is very high in the United States. Okay. And you will see that whenever there is a higher GDP, then the oil consumption will be higher as well. Okay. Then the oil consumption, you can see here as well. India is also good at the oil consumption, then China, and then the USA. Then the annual change, I think we should skip. These are more slides. These are no use. There we can see the annual CO2 emissions from oil. So here we can see how much carbon dioxide emissions we are getting from the consumption of the oil. So this is very huge in billions. I should skip it. Okay. Then the oil palm production, as we told about it, to grow the palm plants, to get this palm oil, most of the Brazil forest are being cut down, and we can see here that in the world the palm production is increasing at a very high pace. Then the oil consumption per capita, this is like for the UAE, it has been increased, but right now it is being decreasing. And for like there is a very irregular curves, and it is based on the economy and the policies they have, and even the resources, the storage or reserves they have. Then the electricity generation from oil, I should skip this all. Okay, so here we saw that minerals are unevenly distributed. Then we also have limited resources, because this will be like there will be no resources if we will consume in the pace that we have right now. Okay. And there is a very localized distribution. The coal deposit are only in let's say China, India, and North America, but not in another place. So this is very localized distribution, and not all can be used. because it may be that the concentration is very low and it is not feasible for us to spend that much amount for the extraction of that mineral. Okay, so not all can be used, and even because we know that the carbon dioxide emission from the fossil fuel is very high. It is like fossil fuel are very polluting in nature, so we can't use all this fossil fuel for the sake of maintaining the uh, air quality. Then we also have other impacts of mining, such as deforestation, such as soil erosion, the creation of sinkholes, water pollution, loss of habitat. So, how can mining lead to the deforestation? Danish Kuldeep?
Mm, ma'am, because by clearing forest, we can, like, if we are doing mining, for suppose we are doing open pit mining, so we have to clear the forest for extracting the minerals.
Yes, exactly. And what about the wastage that we get from the mining process? Because if you know that there is, have you heard about the acid mine drainage?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so this is nothing but when you do the mining process, so during that mining process, there is a kind of acid that is being produced in that mining area. And if that acid water move towards the water body, or even it may be leached. Okay, so because of the acidity of that water, some of our mineral in the soil can leach and can make that soil very infertile. The first thing. Second thing, if there is like if this acid water is moving from any water body, so whatever the organism, whatever the biodiversity within that water body, it will be killed. Okay. And thirdly, if it is moving and there is a side by there is a forest, then this forest will get that acid water, and this forest will also not survive, and it will be died. So there was one example in which there was a mine at the peak of a hill, and there was a like river from where this acid water from the mine was flowing. So and nearby area, the forest, all forests were deforested because of that, the acid water. Okay, so this is a kind of deforestation. Then the soil erosion. Yes, the open pit mining, it will create the soil erosion. Then the creation of sinkhole, because we are extracting the minerals from the earth. Okay, so we will create some sinkhole. Then the water pollution, as I gave you the example of acids that are flowing into the water bodies because of the mining. And then the loss of habitat. One example is OKTD mine, so it doesn't need to consider it. Then what we can do it, what can be done? So we can set oil rigs and mines in specially vulnerable biodiversity spots. So whenever there is a biodiversity hotspot, we should avoid the mining in that area. But the problem is that uh, if there is a settlement area, or if there is a village or town, we will not allow the mining to be there. Okay, so we want mining to be outer skirt of the urban area or the city area. And if we will go to the outskirt of that city, then we will have the forest only. So we will have to have the mining in the forest area only. So this conflict is very very challenging. So where to mine? Okay, so what can be the possible solution for that? Because in the settlement we don't want mining, because we are living, we are breathing there. But in the outreach there is a forest, and if we are like, and forest is the biodiversity hotspot, it is a biodiversity hotspot, so we can't mine in that area as well. So what can be the possible solution for that? Danish, can you answer? You can guess something.
Mm, ma'am, in what mining the like conserving forests from mining?
No, like there is two situation. uh, According to peoples, there should not be mining in the urban area, because in the urban area we are living. Okay, but if we are go to the like if we don't do mining in the urban area, then we are moving towards the forest for the mining. And we can't also mine in the forest area, because this is the biodiversity hotspot or the spots. So where will we do the mining?
Ma'am,
Ma'am, we simply shift from some renewable resources because we can't do mining in both the areas.
Yes,
or ma'am,
exactly.
we can shift towards desert areas or where land is not useful, there is no forest or severe climatic condition. If there is something that can be extracted from that, like
Yes,
Alaska and
yes.
Siberia region.
Exactly. So both answer are true. That yes, we can use the region where there is a no vegetable and even no human beings, such as Alaska. But yes, the more feasible approach is using the renewable energy. So we can shift towards the renewable energy. And if we are doing the mining, then we should prevent spills and accident with better technology. If you know that most of like whenever we are carrying oil from ships, then most of the oil spills. Okay, and because of that, most of the organisms are not getting direct sunlight inside that water, inside that ocean, and because of that, huge amount of organism dies. Okay, then develop model to anticipate spread of pollutant. If there is some industries and this industry is establishing a mining area, then this industry should aware the people about what type of pollutants this mine area will produce. Though this can't be happen because no industry or company will want to spread such type of information to avoid the protest. But yes, this should be done. Then maintain rapid response team and technology, utilize study on long term impacts and mitigation options. So we must think that if this is happening, if let's say biodiversity is getting lost, or it is decreasing, so what will be the impact, what will be the mitigation option. So you must have to have in your mind, okay, before executing the mining. And then improve degraded habitat. If there is a if mining has been done, then this region will be like very eroded and very infertile. So you can improve that area, improve that habitat by restoration, by enhancement, we have a lot of technique that we will discuss in next slide. Then the target priorities area. If we know that this is the biodiversity hotspot, so we should target that the mining should be avoided in that area. And if this is happening, that most of the resources and technology must be used to mitigate the adverse effects. Okay. Uh, then how we can improve the degraded lands? We have some options. Okay, first we have the recovery means let nature take its own way, means we are not intervening. Suppose if there is a mining has been done and this area is very barren right now, we will leave that land for, let's say, 10 years. And after 10 years, there will be some grasses on that area, and after that grasses, some trees will grow, and this succession will happen automatically. So this is kind of recovery. For example is leaving land fallow. Then we have the rehabilitation and the reclamation. What it is, here we just shift the degraded habitat to add greater values, not necessarily the original state. If there were a forest, then mining has been happened, it may be that uh, this region has been converted into, let's say, water park, or let's say wetland. So this is kind of rehabilitation. Then the restoration means whatever the original state was before the mining, after mining, same state should be restored. So this is restoration. Then we have the enhancement, improving the value of the habitat. For example, if because of mining there is some holes, so these holes can be converted into water holes for the animals. So this is kind of enhancement. Then we have the replacement. We can create a new habitat in place of degraded habitat. For example, we can convert forest, like it was forest before mining, but after mining we can convert it into the wetland. So this is kind of the replacement. So these are basically the options we have to improve the degraded habitat after mining. Then the mine restoration, how we can do the mine restoration? There are some measures like flattening of waste dumps and landfills to prevent erosions, filling up of dug pits, then covering with the layer of clay to prevent access to rain and oxygen. We can also cover the cover the layer with the topsoil. Then we can also do the plantation. We can also do the like restoration and evaporation of the tailing dams. So energy use, I think this is not, here we can see that energy intensity is increasing with the GDP. As I told that if there is a higher GDP, then the energy intensity will also be higher. Then the, yes, this is not of use, this is not of use. Let me skip all these slides. Okay, there is a one slide that is showing that no doubt for the renewable energy, the prices will be higher initially, but if we are increasing our solar panel, then the price will go down. Here we can see that cost will decrease as we increase the installed solar PV capacity. Then this is not important. Skip this. Okay, so what we can do, we can reduce, reuse and recycle. We can adjust our behavior as well. We can switch off unnecessary light. We can use more efficient device. We can use more insulation. So this kind of behavior we must adapt. Okay, and we can go for the solar as well because it is free. And there is some agencies that are just installing the solar system on your roof or top and sharing the benefit you have. So this type of agencies or model are resco, unlike the capex. Okay, so you can also there is also option for the solar as well. Kuldeep, you wanted to say something? I'm just finishing.
No, ma'am.
Okay, then we can also talk to the representative, and we can also explore heating and cooling, passive heating and cooling. For example, there is a high temperature in environment and you want to install the AC. Okay, there is also one option that you can create a rooftop. Okay, so we can also create a rooftop in a such a way that we grow the plants in the rooftop, and this will reduce this can reduce up to 10 degrees Celsius temperature of your room or of your house. So this is kind of passive heating and cooling. You can use the shades, you can use the curtains, and you can use the water for the passive heating or cooling, so that you don't use the excess energy resources. Okay, okay, we have the assignment question. We will solve it and we will go because it's the Sunday and you also have to do some work, or I also have to leave the Pune. So okay, first question, those resources that has been surveyed but we lack the technology to use them, is the definition of Danish.
Stock resources.
Ma'am,
uh,
stock.
yes, uh, rain garden are primarily meant for.
Increase recharge to groundwater.
Groundwater. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Timber from forest is being harvested, can be categorized under,
Actual resource.
Actual.
yes, this is actual resource. Then which of these is largest source of sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere?
Industrial processes.
Danish here.
Ma'am, same. Industrial processes.
It is electricity generation, because for the generation of electricity we use the coal, and coal is the primary source that produce the sulfur dioxide. The next, which of these is the largest source of ammonia in the atmosphere?
Ma'am,
Ma'am, crop
I,
and their decomposition, or maybe human waste. I don't know actually.
The option you left is the right answer. Uh,
Mineral fertilizer.
no, this animal
animal
manicure.
manicure.
Yes. Uh, what's the formula of ammonia?
NS3.
NS3, right? Okay. Next question is those resources that are currently being used after serving quantification and qualification is the definition of.
Actual resource.
Yes, Kuldeep.
Yeah, ma'am. Actual resource.
Okay. Hydrogen for nuclear fusion come under the category of
Stock resource.
top. Danish.
Yes, ma'am, same.
Okay. Low concentration ore comes in the category of
Reserve
Reserve.
resource.
reserve resource. Okay. Those resources that may be used in future.
Reserve.
Potential resource.
These can be both, na? I think
Yes,
It
ma'am.
can be all
potential. Yes,
except the actual one.
yes. Then the oils that has not been drilled can be categorized under.
Reserve
Reserve.
resource.
It is potential or reserve.
Reserve, ma'am. Reserve.
Reserve.
Okay. Okay. This was the today's